Main Street's Glas-Avenue MobilePro with MPG allows your flat glass technician to create an estimate right on the job site by allowing them to add parts from your menu pricing guide along with any parts you've added to your parts file in your Glas-Avenue software. And not only can they add and price parts, but they can create a measure sheet for the job that can be sent to your vendor in a professional format. It also allows the technician to collect a payment, email an invoice, and much more. So let me show you the highlights of how MobilePro works for you and your tech. We're going to start out here in our point of sale, so let's go ahead and bring up our ticket here. We need to first create a ticket. We'll just need to make sure that the customer's information is on the ticket. On the job tab here, we're going to want to make sure that the job is set to be a flat job. Anytime you have a customer on a ticket with no items, it should automatically default to flat. So if it's not defaulting to that on your point of sale, make sure to contact technical support for assistance with that. We'll want to make sure that the job location is filled in and that the job is marked as mobile. And we need to make sure that the job is on the schedule for the particular technician. So we need to make sure that the tech is filled in along with your preference date. We'll go ahead and we'll save the ticket as a quote. And then once the ticket is saved, now we can go ahead and move over to the tablet here. We'll go ahead and sync with our point of sale. So we want to click on the sync option in the upper right hand corner here. And now you'll see that it shows that the sync is running. And we've already got a couple of jobs on here. And in just a moment it'll add our new job. Now the MobilePro is designed for a tablet, not a phone. We recommend at least a 7-inch tablet, although our recommendation is we find that the 10-inch tablet is about the best size for it. It's not too large, but it's large enough that it's nice to show the customer pricing on. And it's also a good size for working on. If you're looking for a tablet and looking for a recommendation, we find that the Samsung Tab 4 is a great tablet to work with. However, it will work on any Android tablet. It will not work on an iPad. Now that we've got our jobs on here, you can see the different colors. Those are the job statuses. Those match up with the same statuses that you have on your schedule. We'll go ahead and choose our job here. We can go ahead and change the status as to whether we're on our way, say on travel, or at the job site is active, and that of course will update the status in the point of sale. We have our areas for information that may have already been added on the ticket itself, or you'll add into the ticket, and that will go back into the point of sale. We have our address and our phone information, email information. So if we need to know where the job is, we can choose the address option, and it'll take us to Google Maps here, and we'll see exactly where that job is located at. And because it's a Google map, we can either zoom in or zoom out on the map to see other jobs. And if I want to go to a specific job, let's see, I want to see where job number 2 is. I just click on that job and it takes me right to it on the map. The email information, if that's not already been filled in on the ticket, we can add that in, and then that will transfer back to the ticket in the point of sale. And same thing with the cell number. We also have our notes tab that has any notes that were already on the job, or we can add notes in and those will transfer back. And then we have our items and MPG tab where we're going to see the items that we're going to add in. So to add in the items, there's a couple different ways we can do it. So what I'm going to do first here is I'm going to choose the menu option on my device. Now on a lot of the newer devices, the button isn't on the device itself. So if yours doesn't have that, in the app, in the top right corner usually you're going to have the 3 little dots. That's your menu option. So once you click on the menu, we have a couple different choices here. We can do add item. That allows you to add any items that's in your parts file in your point of sale. Add MPG item, and then the measure sheet. So typically, of course, you're going to do a measure while you're out there. So let's start with the measure sheet. That's probably the most common way you're going to add the parts in. We can start by adding in the quantity if there's going to be more than one, but we don't have to start there. Typically, we're going to want to start with our task type. So let's say we're going to do an IGU annealed. And then we're going to put in our dimensions. So we'll just click in the dimension fields there. If you need fractions, that second field there is your fractions. And then we'll put in height. And again, once we have our dimensions in, now you see to the right there it shows this is a size A based on the dimension. Now we'll click in the part area, and it's going to give us a drop down of our parts that are available for that size. And then we simply would go ahead and choose the part that we want. Now we can go to the measure sheet and fill in any of the other fields there that we would want to fill in for this particular piece of glass. If we wanted to add muttons, once we choose muttons, it gives us some more choices. And then you can see the green areas. This is things that are common to the job. So once those are filled in, those are going to stay the same for the entire job for all the parts. Once we've got a part added, if we want to add another part in, we simply click on the plus sign up at the top. It'll leave the same task type, although of course we can change that. Clears our dimensions out so we can put in our new dimensions on our next part. And then the items on the measure sheet, it carried over from the last part, but of course you can change anything that's necessary. Once we've added our parts, we're going to use the back button on the device to get to back to our job. And you can see the parts that are on there now. This is the area, the MPG tab, that we're going to want to use to show the customer our estimate that we're doing for them. It's going to show them just the part number, the quantity, and then it'll show the non-member price, the member price, the total for the job, and then the savings that they could see if they become an Advantage Plan member. You can see up at the top right corner there we've got the MPG drop down. So any of the books that you have loaded into your point of sale, we can choose those books as well. So if I want to go ahead and choose book A here, it's going to switch the pricing to the book A pricing. We'll go ahead and go back to our custom price here, and you can see right now it's checked on price. That's the non-member price. So if we want to go ahead and show them what the member price would be, we'll go ahead and choose member. And now you can see that the total changed both on that line item and then down in the bottom right corner. And now down in the bottom right corner it also fills in what their savings are. You may also want to add a part that's not something that's a measure, so it wouldn't go on your measure sheet. You can again go to the menu and we could say add MPG item. Just like in your point of sale, we'll go ahead and choose the task type. And we can fill in our dimensions. And once we fill in our dimensions, of course, it'll automatically choose the size. Now again, if this is an item that isn't going to have a size, then we wouldn't choose that. We would just choose the task type. Or down at the bottom, we could, in the description, put in a part number or a description that we already know. And then we would just choose the search option, and it'll give us our list. And then we simply check the checkbox next to the part number. Or if we already know that we're going to want to price this part out as an additional part, we would just choose the as additional. So we go ahead and choose an item. And then if we want to search for another part, we just change the information over on the left hand side, or you can choose clear selection. And then once you put in your new criteria, you just hit search again. So we're going to go ahead and hit the back button and go back to our ticket. And there's our new item that we've added in. Now you may need to adjust some pricing on parts. So if we go to the items tab, this is basically the same information, but you can see here though that it's showing us more of a breakdown of the pricing. So that's why typically you don't want the customer seeing this particular screen, and why it'll always default to the MPG tab when you are in a certain section and hit the back button and come back to your parts. So if I wanted to change the price, say on that first item, I would just go ahead and click on that first item, and it brings up the specific information. I can adjust my dimensions if needed, but let's say I wanted to adjust the pricing. I'll just click into that labor field, and then I'll go ahead and put in my new pricing that I want, and I'll hit the back button, and we'll go back to our ticket. And now you can see in the labor field there it's showing $125. And also if I go back to my MPG, you can see the total now is only $150.76 on that part. So it's taking into account that new labor, even though the member price is showing the $205.76. If I wanted to remove an item from the ticket, I can go ahead again, go into that item detail, choose my menu option, and there's only one option, that's to delete the item, so I'll choose delete item and choose yes. And now I've removed that item. Also, if I am on the measure sheet, I can go ahead and I'm going to go to that second item there, and the same procedure. I would choose the menu and delete item, and I can remove that line item, and now I'm back to just my first item. Once I have all of my parts on here, there's a few other things that I can do. I can go ahead and into my menu here, and I can add a picture. So I would just choose the add picture option, and it's going to activate my camera, and then I would have just to take my picture, and then I can either save or discard that picture. And any pictures that I save will be attached to that ticket, so when I sync back up with my point of sale, if I go to the Notes tab, there'll be a list of all the attachments for that job. Now if I wanted to see any attachments, I would just go to my menu and say View Attachments, and there would be a list of any attachments for that job. And if I just check a particular one, it will show that one. Also, any attachments that were already on the job, let's say maybe this job somebody had already gone out once and I'm going back out, and so they already had some pictures, I would be able to see those. As you saw when I went to my View Attachments, there were already some attachments there. I would be able to see those as well, even though those pictures may not have come from my device. I also want to be able to take a payment if the customer commits to the job, so I'm going to go to the menu and say Add a Payment. It will show the balance due. So in order to add a payment, I would just simply choose the Add option. I could go into my Amount section here and type in the amount that they're going to be giving me as my deposit. And then for my payment type, I can pick what type of payment they're giving me. Now if you do have the credit card module with your point of sale program, you'll be able to run that credit card directly from the MobilePro app, but you do need to have the credit card module. We'll go ahead and just leave this one as cash, and we will choose to save that. I can go back to my menu and I have an option to add a signature, so you can have your customer use their finger or a stylist and they can sign, and we'll save that. And then now I have a couple of other options here in my payment section. I can go back to my schedule. I can view a list of my payments if I've taken multiple payments on this job. I can void a payment, and I can also give them a receipt. So if I go to the receipt option, I'll be able to choose how to print this as either an estimate, a work order, or an invoice. So since I've taken a payment on this, I'm going to go ahead and choose work order on that. Now, make note here, this only changes it on the heading of the receipt that the customer receives. This does not make this a work order or an invoice in the point of sale. Once we do our sync, you would still have to recall the ticket and save it and choose to save it as a work order or invoice. This is merely for the header at the top so that when the customer gets their receipt, they see it as a work order or an invoice or an estimate. We can choose different formats of how to print this. I've set up a MPG invoice. You can set up custom formats by going under Admin and Invoice Customization. So if you need help with that, you can call technical support. We can help you with that. All I really did different with this MPG invoice is just made sure that it didn't print any dimensions on the invoice itself, so that they can't just take this to my competition and have them give them pricing. My email address is already there, but again, if that wasn't there, I could go ahead and click into that field and add that. If they'd like it sent to multiple email addresses, I can do that as well. I just need to hit a semicolon and then put in the other email address that I want. Just each email address needs to be separated by a semicolon. And if I wanted to text it to them, I could fill in their cell number if I didn't already have that in there. So to email this, I'm going to just choose my email option, pick my Gmail account, and pops up my email here. And as you can see, basically all it's going to do is it's going to send them a link. And then when they get this email, they just click on that link. It opens up their web browser. And then from their web browser, they'll be able to view and print that. So let's go ahead and take a look here at that. So we'll go out and just go ahead and pull up my web browser here. Once our browser opens up, we've got our invoice here. So it'll have your name information. If you've added a logo, it'll be up there. And it's got the customer's basic information and the parts and any other information. You can also access the printing. If you're on the ticket, you can go to the menu and there's the send invoice option. And that's the basics of how it works on the tablet. We'll go ahead and we'll get back out of here and we'll go ahead and do a sync here and send the information back into the point of sale software. And then we'll just take a quick look here at our measure sheet that we created. We'll go ahead and search our job back up here. And if we go to the flat glass tab, we need to choose dimensions. And you can see there's a button here that says measure. So once we click on that, it changes the right half of the screen to show the measure sheet. And as we select an item down in the bottom portion, it'll change that measure sheet for that item. Then to print that, we're just going to simply print the ticket itself. When we print this ticket, we just want to make sure that the format is set to measure sheet. So when our drop down here, we may need to change it to measure sheet. And then if we wanted to email it directly to our vendor, of course we can choose the mail option and change the email address to our vendors. And then this is what our measure sheet would look like. Those are the basics of the MobilePro. If you'd like to see further detail, check out our tutorial webpage for all the different tutorials on the specific parts of the MobilePro program.